Imagine embarking on an unforgettable journey through the heart of Italy, where every turn is a new treasure and every moment is filled with beauty and culture. You start your adventure in Rome, the eternal city. Next, you venture into the rolling hills of Tuscany, where the air is perfumed with the scent of vineyards and olive grove. The journey continues to Venice, the floating city of canals and gondolas, after Five Earth and Milan. But your Italian adventure doesn't end on land. It's about to get even more extraordinary. A magical journey through Italy, topped off with a house music festival on Costa Cruise. Dance under the stars, relax in style, and discover exclusive performances on deck, all while sailing to some of the most beautiful destinations. There are 3 packages to choose from. Sailing dates are from September 24th through the 28th, 2025. Book yours now at festivaloncruise.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heidi's house. It's your Queen Bee, Heidi V, your host. And today we have our episode 4 with our featured guest, Moniestien. He is an artist, music producer, and DJ. He's also a label boss of his own record company, Moni Power Records and Moni Star. Besides all that, he is also a director and owner of his own film and video company, MPR Video and Film. So let's welcome him to the show. I'm very excited to hear more. So let's hear it from the man himself. Are you ready? Then let's go. Here he is, our next featured guest in episode 4 of Heidi's house, Moniestien. He is an artist, DJ, music producer, director, and much, much more, label owner. I'm so happy to have you part of Heidi's House podcast. How are you?
Thank you, Heidi. And yes, thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I am fine and I'm so happy to be on your podcast. Wow, this podcast is really blowing up. Everybody's talking about it. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful of having all these beautiful people joining into this almost like a movement and it just warms my heart. And I'm just glad that you are one of these first people, who took the challenge and was brave enough to join in. So it always, gives me also to boost to keep this going. So let's start our interview. Since you are our featured guest, so I'm going to ask some questions regarding your house music journey, so to say. But for those people who might not be familiar with your background, now I need to put a little bit stop because there's alarm. I'll cut it. Oh my Lord.
Okay.
There's some kind of alarm going on here, so I have to put the whole thing off. All right. Sorry about it. It's okay. So for people who might not be familiar about your background or who don't know maybe who is Moniestien, so could you tell us a bit about who is Moniestien?
Yes. Moniestien is a artist, producer, DJ, radio show host, singer, songwriter, and my real name is Pierre Jean Gillis. I'm from Freeport, Bahamas, and I moved to New York City in the middle '70s, and I lived there for a while. And then from there, I had moved to the Washington D.C. area
Mhm.
And that is where I can say that even though when I was living in New York as a young kid, I used to watch my father and mother play music and play a lot of music. So I had a lot of influence with music even back in New York. But when I moved to the Washington, D.C., the Maryland, Virginia, Baltimore area, that's where, I really started honing my skills as a musician at a very early age, at I would say from the age of like 9, 10 years old. So I used to be in a lot of plays in schools and singing with the kids in school, and we in the little singing classes that we had, musician classes and stuff. So music has always been a big part of my life.
Mm.
And I've been doing this right now as a music producer and DJ for the past, whew, at least I would say 22 years, 23
Impressive.
years. Yes,
Very impressive.
thank you.
So let's then continue. You already told us a little bit about that, but let's dig a little bit deeper.
Sure.
So, what got you to house music originally?
Very good question. Well, back in 1990, I think it was 1991 or 1992. I know it's probably telling you people like, wow, back then that was so far back. But back in like 1990 to 1991, a
Mhm.
friend of mine from New Jersey, who moved to the Maryland, Baltimore area, he had introduced me to he had let me hear this music.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this music is really, really, really nice. What kind of music it is? He said, it is house music. I said, what? I said, wow, I love it. I love the way it sounds. I said, it's great. So then he said, you know what? There's some house music clubs. I would like you to, come on out, see what it's like, get with the culture, see what the scene is like. When I went there, I was hooked. That back then we had our favorite DJ, which was DJ Sam the Man Burns. May he rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago,
Mm.
but he was the biggest house music DJ back in our area, in the Maryland area, back in the 90s, and until the late 2000s as well, but until he passed away. But he was the person who really, really, introduced me to different house music sounds and different house music tracks, and I used to be one of the dancers, and then from there I got into producing. And so it started all back in the 90s, and the 90s house scene. Back then, that was the biggest scene was also in New York, where they
Yeah.
had the garage, and they also had all some of the biggest house clubs. We had the Kilimanjaro that was in DC. These was a big house music clubs. And that's where my journey started.
Oh, it's a beautiful journey, and it really sounds like it was almost like a love at first sight.
Yes, it was. Once I
Oh,
once I heard house music for the first time, I was really hooked. I was hooked on it,
yeah.
and I knew that this is something that I definitely wanted to get more into, and I did.
Yeah, that's the power and magic of house music, I have to say also. Like, once it gets you, once that bug bites you, it's done deal.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Beautiful. You happened to mention about the dance history, so I didn't know that you have also that talent behind you, as well.
Oh
It's
yes, I
beautiful.
used. Oh yes, I used to be deep into the deep house music underground scene at the clubs, dancing in the circles, the ciphers, and dancing battle dances with
Yeah.
other people who would dance. It was a lot of fun. That's when I was in my That's when I was in my early 20s. It was a lot of fun.
It certainly is, and it kind of, makes really sense, and it explains that rhythmical side that you have in your music, that it's really, inspiring to dance, you know. So I can hear now and understand that there's a dancer behind that too.
Yes, there is. I
That's
still
beautiful.
dance, and I still dance to house music. When I go out to the events in our area, I still, I can still do a little something,
Yeah.
I'm older, but I can still get my dance on.
Well, you know, same thing here. Still
Oh, don't
trying to
worry.
keep the moves.
Oh yes, we be seeing you dancing, Heidi. We know you can get down.
You know, doing it. So that was a beautiful history and background there. So thank you for sharing about that. So now I'm going to lead our interview to something else because
Okay.
for sure audience wants to know about this. So what would you say? Who are the artists that have inspired you the most? And it can be in
Yes.
any genre for that matter, but who would you say have inspired you most when it comes to your music?
Well, in terms of inspiring me in music, period, not any specific genre, it would have to be Herbie Hancock.
Oh, amazing.
And then if you want to branch into, well, it was Herbie Hancock. There was also a really powerful a flutist that really inspired me. His name was Nestor Torres. But
Mhm.
then when we go into the house music,
Yeah,
wow, I could say hands down it was Louis Vega.
yeah.
Louis Vega
Big
is the
ones, yeah.
one who was my biggest inspiration. After Louis Vega, it came Tony Humphries. After Tony Humphries, it came Jelly Bean Benitez, Juan
Yeah,
Benitez. I, the list can go on and on and on. David Morales, so those are guys who really paved the way, the pioneers for all of us. And
yeah.
those guys were really inspiring to me. I was a big Masters at Work fan.
Mm. Me
So
too, me too. I have to say, me too. You know, you can't go wrong with their records. Really, you can't go
sure, for sure.
I have to say I have been blessed, you know, even residing here in Finland, but I have been blessed to see Herbie Hancock also performing
Oh,
live. And
nice.
oh my God, that's like whole another level. And also Jelly Bean Benitez. So, you know, I was dancing the night away. So
Those guys,
you know it how it is.
those guys are pretty much almost. I could almost say that they are almost like pretty much the pioneers of house music.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, that's a nice reference for people who might be new to house music or, you know, want to find out a little bit more about the roots. So listen to those pioneers if you haven't already. All right, then I'm gonna give you a very tricky question, and I know that this is very unfair, but sometimes I have to be a little bit unfair.
Okay,
So the question is, name three of your all-time favorite house music tracks.
move your body, um, Mr. Fingers,
Mhm.
and gotta have house music.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Beautiful, beautiful selection. And I know that this is a tricky one because there might be so much more that
Oh
it's
yeah,
kind
for
of like
sure.
difficult to pick. So, but those would be the top three for you, so to say.
Yes, those are very classic
Yeah.
house music tracks from the early days of house music because they're almost like anthems.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even really um not remember those tracks. Those are the tracks that really stuck with me as my journey started in house music. So I can never forget those tracks. And
Yeah.
also being as a DJ, when you're playing classic house music, then
Mhm.
you already know that those are some of the tracks that you got to throw in when you're doing a DJ mix.
True, true, true. They are kind of timeless pieces, and they are the ones that kind of shaped the sound so remarkably, you know, and tremendously that you just have to include them. They are really elemental, to the sound of house music. Very great pick. Well, now, I don't know, this might be even more trickier and even more unfair question, because now we are gonna talk about your own music.
Oh,
So
okay.
I always say, if I have to pick some music from my own productions, that it's always very, very tricky to say that which one I would prefer most. But I'm gonna shape this question so that, is there some track that is somehow very special to you, one of your own productions, and maybe reasons behind
Yes.
why that track?
Let me see. I would say, wow. It's so many of them. This is a really
Mhm.
tricky question. That's one of my all-time favorites. Wow. Let me see. Well, I know for me, um, mm, oh my God,
It's
that this
difficult, right?
this one you caught me.
Almost.
You definitely caught me off guard with this one. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm just gonna stick with what's current. So I would say one of my all-time favorite tracks is it's one of the tracks that I have well, I'm getting messages, people calling me, messaging me like crazy. I was excuse me. So I would say the one that I did with Vincent H, which is Move Me Now.
All
And
right.
that's and that is my other ego, my alter ego as an artist, which is called P Money.
Yeah.
So you have Moniestien, you also have P Money. P Money's the vocalist, Moniestien is the producer. Now from the producer standpoint of the Moniestien pick would probably have to be, I would say, Gone Into the Beat.
All right. And what might make it a little bit more special to you? Is there some particular reason?
Good question. For for the Move Me Now track, what was really special about that track was the I like the way I was able to add the vocals into that track and the concept of the lyrics, where I was talking of where in the lyrics I'm really describing of how the track itself, the music in the track,
Yeah.
how it's making me want to move, making me want to dance, making me want to dance with somebody. And I express that all in my lyrics. Now on Boney Stone's track, which is the gone into the gone to the beat, along with P Money, that one is really talking about kind of what happens when you hear a beat when you're in a club and then you feel like dancing after you hearing the beat,
Yeah.
and you really get deep into it. It doesn't matter if you're dancing with somebody, if you're not dancing with somebody, if you're dancing by yourself, you just
Yeah.
really all into it with your heart and soul.
Yeah, that feeling when you feel that vibe, and that you are just there in that flow of music, and almost like be the music.
Exactly. That's the way. So that's what the tracks do to me. And I think it's a blessing that when like me and you, when we create music, that the music that we create ourselves, that it moves us. You know what I'm saying? That it literally moves us like that. And I think that's very important, because I have heard of some musicians say, well, I made a track, but I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't know if it was right, you know. And I'm just really blessed to say that whenever I create a track, I never got that feeling. Whenever I
Yeah.
create something, I feel it, I like it, I get into it. I I take myself away as the producer, the composer, the vocalist, and I make myself a bystander, like somebody on the dance floor just listening. That's
Yeah.
how I listen to my music.
Yes. And I was just talking in a previous episode with in episode 2. I was talking with Jackman Jones, and we talked about that kind of like artistic integrity, and really like standing behind the music that we make, and you know that it is really like a reflection of us. So we just can't, you know, put something, anything, just anything out there, but it's really like a representation of ourselves and our, you know, vibe and everything. So I'm thinking you are talking about very similar, same thing here.
That's it. Whenever you make a house music creation, that and if you're not feeling it from your soul,
Mhm.
then then you can't expect everybody else to feel. It got to start with you.
Yeah,
It got to start with me. When
true. And that's why I
the
think they
music,
say that house is a feeling.
it's I feel.
Yeah, house is a feeling. All right, let's continue to our next question. Now, you have been around, like you were describing, it's about more than 25 years, if I recall now correctly. So, what would you say? Now, this might be a little bit tricky question now, but uh, what would you say that are the highlights of your career, long career so far? Which kind of moments stand out the most?
Well, um, I believe that one time that I was at an event and I was DJing. And when I was DJing at the event, I played one of my tracks,
Yeah.
and just to see the people in the crowd or in the on the dance floor,
Mhm.
really, getting into it.
Yeah. And really feeling that music. You know, I think that that is kind of quality that, uh,
Standpoint, and you're looking at the dance floor,
yeah,
that is a highlight for me.
yeah, and I feel what you're saying there because I'm also feeling that, you know, that never goes old, that feeling when you see that how people respond to your music. That's the best feedback that you can get when they are vibing to it and feeling it.
Right, right.
Mhm. So it kind of never goes old. I would kind of feel sad if we would become somehow, you know, used to that. It wouldn't be representing the ethos of house music then, in my opinion. So
No, you're right. I agree with you. I mean, the thing about it is that, when you are a vocalist or a producer or a DJ of house music, especially in your DJing your own tracks,
mhm,
and you see that the dance floor is feeling the music the way you're feeling when you're creating it, that's a highlight.
it is.
That's something that you really can never forget,
Mhm.
because it's like you're sharing something with your listeners. You know what I
True.
mean?
True.
So
Absolutely. And I think what you're describing there is really like, you know, keeping that connection with your audience and really like, you know, it's really the form of communication and everything that is going on there. And I love the fact that when, you know, you after having so long career, such many years as a DJ and music producer and everything else, you also do the radio, you know, mixing and everything, their own shows and many other things. We are still gonna get to a few of them. But the humbleness that comes through in that comment, it's just beautiful.
thank you.
Most welcome. Now let's go a little bit more further with this theme. What do you think? What is your personal contribution to the music community? How would you see yourself in that aspect?
Well, I think also as a house music radio show DJ as well as a radio show host,
Yeah.
being able to play other people's music and support it on my podcast, my podcast as well as my radio show that I do on Saturdays. And for everybody who needs to know, I am on housestationradio.com, and my radio show is called Super House Saturdays, and it is from 10 p.m. CET time to 11 p.m. It's a 1 hour show.
So check
So,
it out, people, on Saturdays. It's an amazing show.
and for
I
people
know
on
it for a fact.
Eastern Standard Time, it is at 4 p.m.
4 p.m. on Saturdays. So people tune in for some amazing Saturday party and good vibes. And I
That's
like the
true.
fact, by the way, that you also represent there in the mix many kind of artists and music. In that sense, that it's not, only those most popular tracks, but you bring always also the new tracks and maybe not so uh, well-known artists. You are, playing music, and you are taking that kind of positive risks that you bring out the new music in your show. So that's what I really appreciate also as an artist and music producer myself.
What I try to do is that I try to give everybody a chance because I know what's it like when
Mhm.
you are a new producer or you're a producer or a vocalist who have a track,
Yeah,
and you might have it on track source or beatport, and but you might not be getting a lot of airplay. So what I do is not only do I support new artists. I also play, the popular artists' tracks too. But
mm,
the thing about the popular artists' tracks is that what I try to remember is that they get their music played a lot.
yeah,
So I try to balance out trying to give everybody a fair shot because when I remember when I first started off, as an artist in the house music community,
mhm,
it was very difficult for me to get people to first
yeah,
start playing my music. It took some years once they got familiar with P Money, once they got familiar with Moniestien, then that's when they started, playing,
true.
my tracks on their mixes. And then I was very, very grateful, very, very appreciative. So I know the feeling. So I do always want to give back.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really, and when you give something to the community, you always also, it somehow returns back to you. That's how life works. All right. Um, then about your current projects, we are gonna hear some of the latest releases in a mini mix that is gonna happen after this interview part. But can you share us a little bit about your upcoming current projects?
The biggest a big upcoming project that I got that's coming and going to be in the pre-orders of it's going to be track source pre-orders on February 19th,
Mhm.
and this one is called Gone Into the Beat. This is the Moniestien Velvet Soul mix. I remember I sent you the information about that, so hopefully they can hear that. And
Yes.
and I also have a beautiful, exciting dramatization type video that's coming with that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. And also the track that I had recently released with Vincent H, which was "Move Me Now," and that was also a very very nice project that I was happy to do with Vincent H. He's a very very popular um, producer himself, and P Money as my vocalist side. We did I did the vocals and he did the track, and we really enjoyed that project. It was a lot of fun.
Shout out to Vincent as well, on my behalf. Amazing artist and very much supportive also in our house scene. Amazing person and artist indeed. And I have to just mention here that since you mentioned about that video, that you also, just like in the intro part, I mentioned shortly that you are directing and doing films. So can you share a little bit about that more?
Thank you so much, Heidi, for reminding me to talk about yes, I want to talk. I'm gonna, let you know, let everybody know, your listeners know that I have a video film production company. My video film production company it's called NPR Films. That's the film and video part, and then the production part is called Moni Man Productions,
Mhm.
and that's where we do all the productive works, the production work for the video, for the clips and everything. And I've been doing that for a few years now, and I'm looking forward to really growing in the field of film and video, because right now, when you are making music, it's very, especially house music now, it's really coming up where people are having videos to their house music track.
True. True. I'm really looking forward to see your upcoming videos now, and it is getting time to end our little interview here. But before we go and before we continue to the mini mix where you can hear all of those few songs that were mentioned in this interview, I would like to ask, if somebody is interested to know more about you and hear about your music, where can they find you in social media?
On social media, you can find me on Facebook, which is going to be facebook.com/Moniestien. You can also find me on Twitter, which will be twitter.com/Moniestien Radio. And also on SoundCloud, you can find me on Moniestien, or you could find me by searching Moniestien Radio. And let me spell that for you. Well, the spelling is right. Moniestien Gillis. But yes, Moniestien Radio.
Mhm.
And also, you can also, you're welcome to email me. My email is very simple. It's moniestien@gmail.com. You want to book me for a session, you want to book me for a show, I'm very open to all of that, and I'm very reasonable.
All right, sounds amazing. And again, on behalf of myself and on behalf of Heidi's house, I thank you for this lovely interview, and let's continue to listen some of that beautiful music in our mini mix. So thank you again, Monistein, and
Thank you,
have a
Heidi.
great evening. Bye
Let's
bye.
have a, thank you. Let's have a listen.
Bye.